Did you know that Mordekaiser's best role is actually jungle? That's what the stats say anyway, but if you don't trust that, you can trust me. As someone who's played hundreds of games on it, the stats don't lie. Mordekaiser's whole thing is forcing people into a 1v1 to the death, and it turns out that all the champs that really like fighting 1v1 go to the top lane. This means that at least half the games you play up there, you're facing a champion who has a legitimate shot of killing you inside your own ult. That's not what Mordekaiser wants. Look at this guy. You think this guy takes fair fights? That's why we go to the jungle instead, so you can have more unfair fights. Are you ready to miss all your abilities and still get the kill? Well, you've come to the right place. Fun fact, Mordekaiser was actually the first champion I played a lot when I swapped from top to jungle a few years ago. I already knew how to play him, and I recalled having seen someone play him jungle at some point. That season, spamming Junglekaiser took me from gold 4 to platinum 2, and mind you, this was before Emerald even existed. For that reason, this specific pick will always have a special place in my heart, and to this day, in the dizzying heights of Diamond, I still bust it out from time to time. Anyway, the stats tell us that Mordekaiser is a good jungler, but they don't really tell us why, so let me help out with that. First off, it turns out that Mordekaiser has 3 different reliable ways to deal AoE magic damage with good AP scalings. If you know anything about the jungle, you know that this is basically the clear speed jackpot. Mordekaiser absolutely deletes jungle camps, not just during his first clear, but throughout the entire game. If the enemy jungler spends even a little too much time on unsuccessful ganks, you can clear all day and get a massive advantage. Secondly, as I alluded to in the intro, a lot of enemy jungle champions you'll encounter, unlike what we would find in the top lane, are not prepared for Mordekaiser's stat checks. This makes teamfights really easy to play as long as the game is in the correct state. So let me explain what that means and how to get there. Mordekaiser, as you probably know, is a very simple champion. This is because he has clear strengths and clear weaknesses. He only really has one move, walking at you and beating you over the head with his big mace. When he's able to do this, he wins, and when he isn't, he loses. This simplicity also makes him a somewhat one-dimensional jungler. In one of my previous videos, I created a tool I called the Jungle Rubric. It helps identify the strengths and weaknesses of champions in the jungle. Filling out a jungle rubric for Mordekaiser would look something like this. He can clear the jungle extremely quickly and easily swing fights when his ult is up, but his ganks are pretty weak. Really, Mordekaiser has a hard time whenever he has to run into his enemy, and a much easier time when his enemy is running into him. Luckily, jungle has a very easy way to achieve those exact conditions in neutral objectives. Playing Junglekaiser, dragons are your best friends. We want to be at the dragon pit every time one spawns and have our ultimate ready. If the conditions are good, we start the dragon and try to figure out where the enemy jungler is. If they let us take it, we of course just do that. But if they run in looking to contest, turn away from the dragon and ult somebody, ideally the enemy jungler, where you can use the shield you build up from fighting the dragon to destroy them or force them to run away. Taking dragons and moving towards soul is our primary game plan every game. If we want that plan to succeed, we ideally always want to be able to confidently 1v1 the enemy jungler. In order to achieve that, we need to stay ahead in levels and items by farming as much as possible, including enemy camps. This is not to say that you should never gank as Mordekaiser, but just remember that your ganks are not very strong and that time spent on unsuccessful ganks with camps up is money down the drain. One last quick tip, if you're playing blue side and want to speed up your first clear even further, you can try this cool trick. But if you're gonna attempt it, I would suggest trying it in practice tool a couple times first, as it is quite finicky. As I have hopefully made clear, the 2 things we need to be able to do as jungle Mordekaiser is farm camps fast and 1v1 people in our ult. So we need to build in a way that optimizes those 2 skills. All 3 jungle pets are viable options, but personally I prefer the red one because of the slow. Our first item choice is very easy because Riot happens to have recently introduced an item that gives us every stat we want and lots of them, Dusk and Dawn. This item is also perfectly optimized for jungle because a full clear will always give us just enough gold to afford a blasting wand. This item is just perfect for our purposes and our damage output goes through the roof as soon as we complete it. Dusk and Dawn is so good in fact that even though it's due to be nerfed next patch, I honestly think it'll still be the best thing we can build even with the currently discussed changes. Afterwards we want to grab boots, usually whatever defensive boot is better, but if neither is really convincing, consider going Swifties. For our second item we pretty much always want Rylai's. The passive is just so good on Mordekaiser as it helps us catch people and stick to them by constantly reapplying the slow with our own passive. After Rylai's it's time to make a decision. We either build more damage or more durability. We want to build damage if we're concerned about our ability to take down the enemy in the 7 seconds we have them inside the ult. Also remember the golden rule that building defensively is usually better when you're ahead and building offensively is better when you're behind. Whether you're building offensively or defensively, the right items to build will depend on the specific game, but here are a few suggestions. In terms of runes, this is the page I personally prefer. The keystone is not really up for much discussion as Conqueror has perfect synergy with Mordekaiser's kit. We also always want Triumph and Last Stand as they're just better than the alternatives. Both Legend Haste and Legend Alacrity have merit, but I personally prefer Alacrity as it gives you more power in the 1v1. For secondary runes there are multiple good options. You can go Sorcery for raw scaling or Inspiration for golden move speed, but remember, our plan is not to chase people, it's for them to come to us. That's why I think the best choice is Conditioning to get free defensive stats and Shield Bash to help turn the fight as soon as we pop our massive shield. While I honestly do believe that jungle is Mordekaiser's best role, not every game is a good Mordekaiser game. As such, blind picking him is risky business, though it does help that most people will expect you to be top. When thinking about matchups, you should remember that Mordekaiser is a simple champ. Specifically, he's what they call a stat checker, but really he's more than that. Mordekaiser is not satisfied with checking your stats. He checks your stats, and then if he likes them, he takes them, and then he beats you over the head with your own stats attached to his big mace. As a simple champ though, he's also quite easy to counter. You can counter him by stat checking him back. This is the problem we tried to solve by moving out of top lane, but the other way to counter him is by just running away. Mordekaiser cannot cross walls without his flash, and even within his death realm there are usually walls to escape over. As I'm sure you recall, our game plan is to ult the enemy jungler, and for that plan to succeed we ideally want them to be easy to beat in a 1v1 and unable to escape. Tank junglers like Amumu, Rammus or Sejuani are perfect because they have no chance of fighting us 1v1, and taking them out of the fight early is very beneficial to our team. Many bruiser junglers like Xin Zhao, Diana or Jarvan have good options for going in, but a harder time getting back out. And while they can fight back, they should not be able to beat you inside your ult as long as you stay even with them. On the other hand, bad matchups include champs like Kayn, Elise or Echo that are too slippery and will usually just waste your time inside the ult, as well as the few junglers that can realistically beat you in a 1v1, such as Briar, Master Yi or Jax. Ideally then, we would wait to see the enemy jungler until deciding whether it's a good game for Mord jungle. But if that's not possible, we at least want to ensure we have another good ult target. Usually this either takes the form of an engaged support or a tanky low damage top laner. So, that's Jungle Mordekaiser for you. If you pick it in the right spot and are allowed to full clear in peace, it can feel almost unstoppable. In some ways, I think this build, despite seeming pretty inoffensive, is really only for the true deviant junglers out there. The ideal game is pretty much just clearing camps the whole game and showing up to dragons when they spawn, which the enemy should be too afraid to contest anyway. So if you're one of those sickos out there who likes winning the game while barely interacting with anyone, give it a shot. And with that, that's another off-meta jungle guide in the books. Be sure to let me know if you enjoyed the video. Also, last time I asked for future guide requests and got enough suggestions to keep me busy for at least a couple months. This time I would like to hear your opinions on this format of short-form silly guides in general. Am I giving you the right information? Is there something you would like to hear more or less about? Is the current length of 5 to 8 minutes good? Regardless, thank you so much for watching and have a good one.